Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanum pakhair agale ni hao chudushum washmale. Ohai Gonzaimas, guten Morgen. Hola, boyo, privyet, kaifa hal? Halishuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan marhaba. Buna, mucho gracias, swabi, abhalli kare aya. Hosh galde nana sayo, khuya mora, chivato, chihal yod, kali mera khairutan. And a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV Ball and watching World this morning, alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajra Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. But first things first, hello Hajra, assalamu alaikum. How are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much for introducing me. Today happens to be 12th of November. It's Tuesday in Islamabad, and it used to be very fine mornings, but now we don't witness that fineness because sun is not basking in its regular glory, and that is because the smog has taken over the capital, and that is why there is a dire need to have the conversation on the effects of the climate change and connecting this conversation to the event of the gathering of the global leaders in the South Caucasus nation in Azerbaijan in Baku. Prime Minister Mohammad Shahbaz Sharif is in Baku to attend the Climate Action Summit. Today, Prime Minister will attend the opening session of the 29th Conference of the Parties on the Climate Action, that is the COP29. He will also host the Climate Finance Roundtable Conference organized by Pakistan, which will be attended by several global leaders. During this time, Prime Minister will highlight the challenges faced by developing countries, particularly Pakistan, which contributes minimally to the emissions of toxic and polluting gases, but is severely impacted by the adverse impacts of the climate change. Additionally, Prime Minister will participate in a high-level event on the Glaciers 2025, Actions for the Glaciers, organized by Tajik President His Excellency Imam Ali Rahman for the protection of the glaciers. Prime Minister will also hold separate meetings with Prime Minister of Denmark and Czech Republic, who have also come to attend the COP29. These discussions will not only focus on enhancing bilateral relations, but also on shedding light on the climate change risks faced by the Pakistan. And Pakistan has particularly focused on the climate solidarity and climate justice and how to explore the intersectionality of that. We are very glad that we have been joined by someone from the PTV who is in the Baku, Azerbaijan, covering the COP conference. He happens to be Dr. Harun Ilahi Tur, who is special correspondent and also director. Assalamu alaikum Tur Sahab, and thank you so much for joining us from all the way from the Baku, Azerbaijan.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So it's wonderful to have you over. First things first, let's talk about COP29 and how do you think that the inaugural session went and what were the key topics which were being discussed by the global leaders?
Yes, the Baku is ready to host the world leaders who are participating in the World Leaders Climate Action Conference Summit here at Baku. Prime Minister Mohammad Shahbaz Sharif is also attending the high-level meeting on climate change, the issue of the climate change. Today, the formal ceremony for the world leaders will be started in a few hours, and Prime Minister is going to attend that ceremony. Here, the Prime Minister would have an opportunity to meet the world leaders, especially an informal event of family photo is planned here where the 100+ world leaders would be participating, and definitely it would be a great opportunity for the world leaders to have a discussion over the climate change issues. On the sidelines, Prime Minister Mohammad Shahbaz Sharif has the meetings with the world leaders as well, especially the Danish Prime Minister, Tajik President, Azerbaijan President, and other world leaders.
Right, Dr. Tur, so Prime Minister will also attend the high-level event on the Glaciers 2025, Action for the Glaciers. So if you could highlight, what will be his talking points and why he is going to attend this summit.
Definitely, the climate change is the biggest issue of all over the world, and especially the Pakistan is facing the devastating floods from the many years, and that have the big threat to our economy. In 2022, Pakistan faced the challenge of the floods that paid damage of almost $30 billion to our economies. The high-level event regarding the glaciers that is being hosted by the Tajik president would provide an opportunity to tackle the issue of the glaciers, and another event that is the roundtable conference that is being hosted by the Prime Minister Muhammad Shahbaz Sharif will also provide an opportunity to have a discussion on the climate issue, especially related to the Pakistan. Today, the Pakistan is facing the threat of the floods, and simultaneously, at present, a widespread of the smog is a serious threat to our climate and the human lives. So these are the major issues that would be highlighted by the Prime Minister, and especially the Prime Minister will sensitize the world leaders on the issue.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saab. In addition to this, just one last question which I would love to ask over here, and that is certainly, you know, all the issues pertinent or relevant to Pakistan and how Pakistan is at the brunt or the forefront of being vulnerable to climate change. How do you think that we will bring about a conversation about climate financing, loss and damage fund, and how do you think that in days to come Pakistan will benefit from it under the leadership of our Premier, the Honorable Prime Minister of Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Mia Muhammad Shahbaz Sharif Saab?
Well, the loss and damage fund is the major step that has been taken on the platform of the COP in COP 27 that was held at Sharm el Sheikh, Egypt, and Prime Minister Muhammad Shahbaz Sharif placed a special focus on the loss and damage fund, where the developed countries, especially pledged to contribute around $40 billion for that fund. Pakistan is waiting to fulfill these pledges, and definitely the Prime Minister will also highlight to increase these pledges to the $100 billion. And a second important issue would be the green energy. Pakistan wants that the energy mix should be rationalized, and the share of the energy mix should be enhanced, especially from the developed countries.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Saab, for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with you, and thank you so much for giving us an overview of what's going to happen today in Baku, Azerbaijan, with reference to COP29. But while we're at it, just yesterday, me and Hajra, we got together and we actually spoke about what needs to be done in the perspective of climate change. Absolutely. We spoke about how, you know, there needs to be more of climate finance and conversation around it. Not just that, how we invest for the livelihood of the people who reside in the most vulnerable areas or the countries which are at the forefront of the climate change. To kind of speak further about it and what sort of SOPs need to be in place.
Yes, of course, and all the governments, important global leaders, they have gathered at the COP29, and they have approved a UN standard for international carbon markets in a key step towards allowing the country to trade credits to meet their climate targets. So today we are going to focus a lot on the COP29, and when we talk about the COP29 summit, the focus and the theme is on financing it. So how do we create the environment for the financing? And when we talk about the carbon markets, what are exactly the carbon markets and why there's so much conversation around the carbon markets, the unregulated carbon markets and the regulated carbon markets? What are the implications of it, you know, their benefits as well as the repercussions and the fraudulent practices that can seep into this carbon trading? To further develop this conversation, we are very glad that we have been joined by environmentalist who happens to be Dr. Ejaz Ahmad Saab. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me.
Right, so Dr. Saab, it's wonderful. So now let's start a conversation about the carbon market. So for our viewers who really don't understand the concept of the carbon market, please shed some light and tell us, you know, why there's a conversation around it.
Yeah, basically, I mean, I'll give you example of plants.
Okay.
Forest. Forests are, you know, like the most important role that they play is absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen.
Yes.
So, in order to reach to carbon market, if we sell a forest area to any industry or any corporate or any country which have excess carbon dioxide, which has produced through their industrial development or through their actions that they have been taking, so they can actually negotiate with the owner of the forest, the country which owns that forest, and trade off that, okay, we are producing this amount of carbon dioxide, and based on the assessment that we conducted, these forests, this area, this much area will absorb that carbon dioxide. So that is the trade-off. So they, the country which have more forest will get more money. They can sell their credit. So and there are different phenomena. You know, like when we talk about industries, industrial development, then the carbon dioxide is the main factor which actually plays, or even other lethal gases. So this trade helps in country to develop themselves and, you know, like go through the industrial process. But at the same time neutralize its carbon.
And then there are carbon points as well, that, you know, because I've seen that, you know, how Google or, you know, all of those companies, if they are contributing to that as well. So what they do is that they, you know, kind of neutralize it by those carbon points. And there's certain activities that you have to really undergo.
I'll give you just one example, that if at individual level, if I am traveling from Islamabad to Karachi by air, so I am contributing in carbon dioxide. So I, as a responsible citizen, am supposed to, you know, like give money for a plantation in certain areas. So that is individual level. So similarly, you know, like at the broader level, you can.
So days to come, there will be a carbon tax as well.
There should be, actually.
I think there is in the Canada, yes, Prime Minister Trudeau, but it has a lot of fraudulent practices and it has been criticized. So in other words, carbon trading means that the big polluters like America, like India, they can have the pollution or the carbon emission, but on the same other hand, they can finance the afforestation efforts probably in Africa and somewhere, you know, to make sure that the greenery remains on the planet.
Or even other practices like improving the industrial processes. For example, we had this the electric buses. So if electric buses are not operational and then we use the same old-fashioned vehicles, so ultimately they are contributing, you know, like they have their own footprint. So in order to shift towards the electric buses, you know, you need those resources. So ultimately there is a trade-off. So and similarly industry, like we had this CNG pumps at some point, which were actually more green as compared to the traditional fuel that we use. So these were some of the, you know, like there are many options.
But Dr. Saab, Exactly. So, Dr. Saab, now let's focus our conversation on what are some of the fraudulent practices that occur in the carbon trading or carbon credits point, right? So, for example, I was reading a report in The Guardian in which the FBI has unearthed $100 billion of this scam in this, you know, carbon credit or taking points. And there's a resurgence, especially in the COP29 summit, of these carbon markets and carbon trading points. So, how do you think we need to develop this conversation or some of the ethical trading points in this gathering of the global leaders, so that we can have a more responsible actions for the saving the planet Earth?
Actually, I think during this COP there are you know, like discussions which are going to, you know, like take care of these some of these fraudulent practices. We actually need to realize that those who are involved in positive practices are not as sharp as those who are doing fraudulent practices, because the moment you start something positive, negative thinking, you know, like will overtake. Unfortunately, this is the reality. This is reality. So I think this mechanism, the double counting, or, you know, like selling those credits to maybe multiple agencies, should actually be stopped in any case, and there should be this mechanism developed during this COP. Otherwise, this is going to fail and ultimately will go back to the point zero. So I think unless and until this double, for us is very easy in a sense that you have a geographic location identified and then area identified, and then you can actually put it on the web or, you know, like any global.
But sir, if it's more of a mechanism where they're investing within their own selves as well, for example, electric buses, or revolutionizing, you know, industry, making sure that, okay, that there's lesser carbon footprint, then how do you think that any global authority can come in and kind of, you know, check whether, you know, we have been good with carbon trade or not?
But I think overall there is, you know, this as part of the NDCs, every country has to report that what kind of practices they have done. There is air pollution monitoring mechanism which is in place, and then all the emissions are being monitored by the local agencies as well as international agencies. So, I think the mechanism could be developed. Science has actually developed many such gadgets. And now with this, like.
Sir, I've been really amazing with writing my annual reports myself. I've been really
I think you have. Then there is a check and balance.
Yeah.
Like in Pakistan.
Yeah, what is that?
In Pakistan, there is this agency which is actually monitoring the air pollution, the emissions which are emitted through different sources, which includes the buses, which includes transport sector and industry, etc. And they are really monitoring it as well.
But sir, the primary reason for me to kind of ask this question was not because that I want to be Pakistan specific. I want to be specific about countries who've already been contributing quite a lot towards climate change and how they're going to go about it. Because imagine that if we have a president-elect who says that I'm going to pull out of the Paris Agreement, or out of the Paris Agreement, or out of the Paris Agreement, how do you think that the world can actually kind of go and challenge that, hey, you know what, this needs to be right?
Well, I think this is the biggest challenge of change in the management at US level, because their role will be very pivotal in a sense, and this COP 29, I think there are not many global leaders, decision makers actually, who are participating. So I am not very optimistic about the result of this, because there will be a lot of controversies after this COP 29. Whatever agreement will be made, I am sure that they are going to like challenge at certain point.
Right, and I think at the concluding remarks, what I can say is there was a lot of skepticism about, because Donald Trump has his own vision of the climate change, and he often calls it a hoax, right? He does not agree with that, and there were a lot of conversation about his withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. But when we talk about the regulated carbon markets, I think that is where we can rope in the president-elect Donald Trump into it, because in efforts for securing the carbon emissions, you can find some afforestation activity or some other activity which can be in the betterment of the health or the environment of our planet Earth. And obviously we need to engage all of these global leaders, because at the end of the day it's the entire humanity that we are talking about, and we hope and pray that we are able to find some sort of common ground and move beyond that political bickering that is often the center stage
and
for that.
Non-profits needs to play their role as well. Well, thank you so much, Dr. for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with you. And for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, imagine when the weather's right, when the climate's fine, when you do know that everything's working in absolutely great condition, you certainly feel like going out there, competing, playing, wrestling, something of that sort. You're joyful about it. We have such an example where this gentleman went to Nepal, defeated an Indian counterpart and became a champion. Who's that? Well, we'll be talking with him right after a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Good morning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Welcome back, and before going on to the break, Shahzad alluded the sort of conversation we would develop, but before delving into that conversation, today happens to be 12th of November and it is also World Pneumonia Day. So the fight to reduce the deaths from the single biggest infectious killer of the adults and children has never been more urgent. In 2021, pneumonia claimed the lives of 2.2 million, including 5 lakh children, and COVID-19 killed an additional 10 million according to the global burden of diseases. Together, they caused more deaths than any other cause, including the heart diseases. With climate change continuing to increase the burden of respiratory conditions and the risk of another pandemic of respiratory infection high, there's a pneumonia crisis across the life courses, placing millions at the risk of infection and death. And tragically, it is a very young and very old who are at the greatest risk. And I think we need to develop more coping mechanisms in order to make sure that children who are living in areas with low vaccination rates and rising malnutrition and in the homes that use polluting fuels for cooking and eating are vulnerable, and we protect them from this pandemic.
And exactly, you know, that's an initiative of PTV where we always make sure to gather around and speak about such important and pivotal days so that everybody can kind of spread the word, raise awareness amongst people who surround them as well. But while we are at it, you know, moving towards a bit of action and entertainment as well, where Mexico actually sets world record in egg on spoon race. Wow, I think I still do remember how, you know, back in those days when we were in schools and colleges, you know, there used to be these annual days and whatnot, and there was this very famous spoon race. I don't know if somebody ever was an athlete known for it, but imagine that Mexico set a new Guinness World Record at the 2024 Egg Fair in Jalisco, when more than 2,000 participants successfully balanced eggs on spoons in a race, breaking the previous record of 1,400 participants set in London. The event, organized by the Tepatitlán Poultry Farmer Association, drew nearly 2,700 students from a local high school to compete in the unique balancing act. Guinness World Record confirmed that 2,039 participants completed the race according to the rules. My God, I think if my mother would have been there, nobody would have gotten the eggs too as well, because she's against having too many eggs.
Exactly, and I do remember as a child there was a ball on the spoon, not the egg, because if egg would have cracked down, so it would be another story. There's a very interesting news in which Pakistan thrashed the host United Arab Emirates 12-1 in a one-sided final to clinch the Baseball United Arab Classic 2024 title, finishing the tournament unbeaten. And in the arena of sports, I think Pakistan is claiming that old glory that Pakistan used to be. I think not just in the cricket, because Pakistan did wonderfully well in the Australia, Shahzad.
Even against England.
And now in the baseball tournament, and it's not just the baseball, it's also the wrestling. So Shahzad has alluded to the sports of the wrestling when one wants to develop the conversation on, but we have also a good news with that. So that's why don't you
Exactly. And before I move on towards that as well, number one, I think I would want to share this as well, that Pakistan actually holds the Guinness World Record for, you know, the largest number of cars in a drive-in cinema, you know. Then Arshad Nadeem, obviously we cannot forget him. Noor Dastagir, you know, all of these people have been doing phenomenally well. And this is one thing that I've always seen, and, you know, so anybody can disagree with me, and that is that under the leadership of Prime Minister Mian Mohammad Shahbaz Sharif Saab, or maybe Mian Mohammad Nawaz Sharif Saab, I've seen that there has always been a very concerted effort onto sports as well. But while we are at it, I think let's kind of give it away as well for people who are out there. This gentleman, who's a Pakistani Saudi wrestler, actually went to Nepal to participate in a wrestling competition, defeated his Indian counterpart, became a champion. He's over here in the studios with us. We're very lucky that we've been joined by an international wrestler who goes by the name of Mr. Ather Zahid. Hello Ather, assalamu alaikum, congratulations. How are you doing today?
Walaikum salam, I'm all right. How are you?
Absolutely perfect.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Alhamdulillah.
Right, so Ather, please take us through your journey. You know, how did you decide to go into this field, and how did this entire thing happen, and what was the reaction when you won it, you know, from your family, friends, everyone?
Basically, my father was a huge wrestling fan.
Okay, wonderful.
He used to watch in the era of VCR cassettes. He used to bring those cassettes to the home and play it on TV. So we used to watch a lot. It was like a festival in our house, like whenever the wrestling used to play.
Undertaker and all of this.
So like from there, my passion developed by watching those wrestlers, larger than life wrestlers. So it all started from there. I thought that why, like, I should become a wrestler as well. So from there,
and you became a wrestler. And you know, going back in time, I think it makes us nostalgic. Triple H, Kane,
Shawn Michael was my favorite.
Shawn Michael, yes. I think all of the Undertaker,
Eddie Guerrero, and all of these names.
Eddie Guerrero, and Big Show.
Exactly.
So why did you drew inspiration from all of these people when everybody used to have this conversation that this is fake wrestling, yaar? You know, so there was always this debate. Did you ever come across this debate?
Yeah, it's like it's a myth. It's nothing like that. Whatever you see on TV, it's absolutely real.
Okay.
And when we hit each other, we get hurt. It's one of the toughest profession. Like when someone sees from outside, it's a different thing. When you actually go in the field, you got to know like what is it.
But Ather, I'm pretty sure that your mom must be, you know, super worried, and she must have a lot of anxious thought, you know, because wrestling is a sport that has a lot of, you know, fighting and hitting.
Combat
moms hitting us is another thing, but us getting hit is really another thing. So how did you balance her worries? And also, secondly, parents are very concerned about your studies, right? Do not forsake your studies for any sports, right? This is, I think, the common threading point that we find in a lot of Desi Brown households. So how did you manage that?
Yeah, she used to say like, why you are going to this field, like it's one of the riskiest sports. It's nothing there, like why don't you choose another profession? But I never had a plan B. I always wanted to be a wrestler. So yeah, it's all.
And why don't you share your you know, belt first of all with our audiences and take us through? So you went to Nepal to participate.
It's an international wrestling championship. So I beat the hell out of Indian and won this title. So it was an amazing experience. Being an international champion.
Wow,
I think it's your journey about your experience about, you know, going to Nepal and, you know, being in front of an Indian, because India Pakistan opposites is something very different. You know, there are a lot of emotions invested.
There's a lot of pressure too.
Absolutely. That tournament was in Nepal. So, you know, like in Nepal, there was no Pakistani during match. All chanting were India, India, India. So I had no support, no one to support me there, or I was all alone. So So, like, I got angry during the match, like, what is happening right here? So,
and do you think that that anger actually helped you kind of do what you achieved over there? And because I think you're one of few people who've actually been trained by the superstar of WWE, Kalisto. You know, so how was that? How did you get in touch with Kalisto, first of all? How's the, you know, this combat sport in particular? Do you think it's booming in Saudi Arabia because you live over there and you participate? And you can put the belt down as well.
Thank you. Basically, my coach Kalisto is one of the best trainer. So he shared me all of the knowledge from WWE, and he told me like my strength, my weaknesses, and like he's himself a two-time US champion. So yeah, he came to Saudi Arabia. So I got all of my training from him.
And now you participate in such combat sports, you know, in Saudi Arabia as well. You know, there are these competitions where you participate to prepare yourself. I think it's great. But while we're at it, do you think that it's a great profession to have? Because this is a dialogue that we have very commonly over here in Pakistan, because we do have, you know, MMA fighters, for example, Wolverine, Ahmad Mujtaba, you know, who's done phenomenal. We have Ulumi Kareem. You know, we have females now, alhamdulillah, joining in within this sport as well. Do you think it's a great sport? Do you think that this is something which you will make sure that will continue to give you or serve you the purpose of your livelihood?
Yeah, basically professional wrestling is one of the toughest sport. So unfortunately, there is no certified academies or certified trainer in Pakistan. So whenever someone wants to learn, he has to go abroad to learn this thing. So it's one of the combat sport as well. Whenever someone goes to ring, he's putting his life on the line. So it's not just entertainment purpose. It's like representing your own country, representing the positive image of your country to the globally.
And during that entire journey, how was your family? Was there family support in the first place? Because mothers are very scared, especially when it comes to these combat sports, right? Because, you know, your child getting hit is something, you know, that's not really absolutely. Go ahead.
My mother used to discourage me. Like she used to like get worried. Like she used to tell me like, don't leave this sport. You are not made for this, or I don't want you to be in the ring. So it was my passion. Like I thought.
So what kept you going, despite that?
His father, I guess.
My father. My father was a huge wrestling fan. And it was all inside me. Like I never made a plan B, like I told you. I always wanted to be a professional wrestler.
But you know, there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. Your diet, your training, you know, how you need to be on point, you know, your reflexes.
Then the injuries happen. It's all like a recovering process. It's one of the...
Exactly. So how do you manage that? Because you need an extensive team to do that. You know, your doctors, your physios, everybody. So how did you, you know, make a team out of it and then work out there in Nepal on your own to participate in this competition? And alhamdulillah, you won that successfully as well.
Alhamdulillah, it's all by Allah's blessing.
Alhamdulillah.
So alhamdulillah, and my parents' prayers. So it's one of the most expensive sport as well. Like I said, it's a combat sport. Like you have to keep your diet very high, high protein, high carb, moderate fat.
Because that's exactly what I was thinking, you know, because when I saw your profile, it said height 6'5", weight 88 kgs. And I was like, you know, I'm 6'3" and I'm much more than 88 kgs. You know, so I think that this guy must be doing something right. Well, that's amazing. What are your future plans now, Ather?
Yeah, my future plan is to represent Pakistan globally, like
in WWE
in
or WWF?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'll raise Pakistan flag high all around the world.
Alhamdulillah.
And in WWE, yeah, I wanna make my country more proud.
Exactly, and always, you know, when we see how, you know, the wrestlers actually come to the arena, you know, there's always a, you know, song playing in the background. Money, 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 money. I still remember, you know, Vince McMahon's son, you know, Shane McMahon, Yeah, Shane McMahon. You know, he would always come out on that song. Randy Orton will have his own, you know, Undertaker with his own as well. So do you have such a song and some signature moves? You know, something you got to scare somebody?
I have, my theme song is Arabic song.
Okay, can you sing that a little bit for us? What does that mean? What does that mean though? You know, when you're going out there, you play this song, what does that song mean?
It says, I'm the best, Ather is the best.
Okay, that's good.
You cannot beat me because I am the best. So it says like, lyrics are like this.
Wow, that's great. And how important it is for you to intimidate your opponent even before you land a punch onto their face?
Yeah, basically whenever my music hits, my attitude changes. Like whenever I go to the ring, like I have a different kind of mindset, different attitude.
Yeah.
And all like I'm anger at the moment, like I'm
so everything's different then.
Yeah, everything is different.
So, you know, so Ather's like, touch me not now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going in and that's it, and I'm going to do it. I think that's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Very quickly towards the end, one last question. That is that, Alhamdulillah, you've met with Rana Mashood Saab as well, you know, and I think that he's looked after all our athletes really very well. There's something which I'm saying on record because I've been involved with sports board and I've done a lot of activities for them and I've seen his continuous efforts, certainly because of the vision of the Prime Minister Mia Mohammad Shahbaz Sharif. What is it that you would want, that the kind of support that you would like to have from Pakistani government and the people of Pakistan?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to highlight that I met Rana Mashood sir twice. Once before going to the Nepal and one after I won the International Heavyweight Championship. He's one of the nice guy I ever met. And he motivated me, encouraged me that you are doing a great job representing Pakistan internationally and just won the International Championship.
Mashallah.
So he said, you are a national hero and you made Los proud. So yeah, I would like to, the sport from the government of Pakistan, that all of the athletes, that those who don't have any kind of financial or moral support, I would like for them to speak to on behalf to speak for them, and
and extend their support to all of those athletes who want
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ather, for coming here, and absolutely we are really thrilled and joyous on your win, and we are hoping and praying that there are more wins to come, inshallah ta'ala. Thank you once again for coming to our show. So now, as we have wrapped up this segment, so we are going to move towards another very important segment, and that is linked to the health and the technology. So how artificial intelligence is merging within the field of the aesthetics, because aesthetics is a very sprawling field, especially in Pakistan, because a lot of people are going to enhance their beauty features. And
now everybody looks the same now.
Yeah, and there are lots of, what do you call it, the plastics on your body nowadays. But I think that's very trendy, and we need to discover these conversations about how artificial intelligence is having an impact on that. And to talk about that, we have been joined by someone all the way from the United States of America. He is Zain Abdin, the resident physician. Assalamu alaikum, Zain Abdin, and thank you so much for joining us.
Wa alaikum assalam. I hope you guys are doing wonderful, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak among you and speak to all of my country people.
Right, and it's an absolute pleasure hosting you. So, Zain, the podium is all yours. Please explain how artificial intelligence is merging in the field of aesthetics, and what sort of conversations do we need to develop in this regard?
That's an excellent question. So I was just trying to gather some information, and I just came to know that you mentioned about the plastics. I know because it's a dilemma. I know it's a lot of people would take that in a humorous way, but on the top of that, it's also one of the most sensitive issue which we have to address. And my goal, our goal, is to implement aesthetic medicine in such a way that we're gonna break the taboo that it's only for the celebrities. We're gonna take it down to the common people, because what I believe, it's not just that we are trying to improve our appearance, because it's something beyond that. It's more than a vision. It's associated with the multiple other, I would say, diseases. Let's suppose if a person doesn't look good, if he is trying to get extra help by getting help with aesthetic medicine. So what I believe is one of the best thing he can do to avoid all those social anxiety issues or all other depression issues or other
Dr. Zain,
medications.
sorry for interjecting here, but I think this is a very important conversation. I want to have it because it is from the stream of the ethical debates within the field of the medicine. Do you think it is ethically viable to sell a pure product to the people out there in terms of in the field of medicine, and basically you are banking on their insecurities that you're not looking pretty enough, you know, you're not doing well enough, and if you do this procedure, so you know you're going to look more beautiful. So where do you think the ethical debate is going in the field of medicine and aesthetics?
The ethical, that's a wonderful question. So basically, when like me as a physician, it's not just related to aesthetic medicine. Even if you have diabetes, you have any other disease condition, it's my ethical responsibility to give you the appropriate amount of medication at the appropriate time, right? In case if I am not doing that, it's something that's unethical, which I would be liable for. And it's going to be same for the aesthetic medicine. I, as a physician, have to decide that if this person wants this procedure, yes or no. Okay, if yes, then let's do it. If no, then we can discuss the potential causes. So it's not just like we're going to sell the service or stuff like that. It's more like a shared decision making.
I truly agree with you, and there's a reason why I'm going to kind of, you know, give a comment in your support while we're having this conversation. And that is that, for example, a lot of people might not even know that getting Botox done will actually help you with your migraine issues as well. You know, there are multiple issues which are being curbed by aesthetic medicine as well. But I think we really need to kind of touch upon the artificial intelligence perspective to it. You know, how do you think that artificial intelligence in the days to come, do you think that it's more like that, you know, I'm going to open my phone with the Face ID and my phone one day will tell me, hey, you know what, you need an eyebrow lift or something of that sort?
I think you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right, Shahzad. I think this is one of the things which is actually possible and it's currently going. So what I'm thinking is just beyond that, which is currently there are a few apps and there are a few like texts which can identify that what type of procedures. For example, I know I used the app on just like for fun purpose on myself, and it was telling me, look, your left side muscle is hypertrophied. You need to get a little bit of Botox to just get it done. So it was just like to create a home humor, this example, but I would say it's one of the things which would be helpful for the future generation and all the people. But related to, let's come towards the artificial intelligence, like how it is impacting in this specific field. So a lot of what I would like to share an example, one of the hospitals like where I used to go, when I used to communicate with the patients in the room, there was a small device which was called a bot who listens to all of the communication. And when I come to my room, everything is done, like the note, my note is done, so which is the documentation process. So this is how AI is implementing, and this is how AI is also being implemented in the aesthetic medicine branch specific fold. But more, not just the data, but it's in almost every aspect of the medicine and related to pertinent to the aesthetic medicine. But I would say is a lot of tech devices which identify that what procedures do you need. And it's not just the procedures, but even when we are doing the procedures, a lot of work is being done by the AI, which saves our time, because we believe human beings are one of the most valuable species on the planet Earth, and their time is valuable as well, right? So we have to we use the time effectively. So that's one of the reasons we are utilizing
Dr.
the AI.
Abdin, in addition to this, I think that we need to kind of speak about this as well, that imagine that, you know, you go 10 years back and there was no aesthetic medicine taking place over here in Pakistan. Now, 10 years later, we do see how, you know, I think it's the top trending practice over here in the country as well. Do you think that artificial intelligence in days to come will actually help us? That, hey, you know what, there are newer technologies coming in. So rather than getting a Botox, probably you can get this injection done or whatnot, this injection done, or multiple other options will be given to us with the help of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, so multiple other options. For example, I would like to add an example. Initially, our traditional approach was to do a rhinoplasty of your nose, right? And where if someone believes that your nose is not in the appropriate direction, or the bone is not in the appropriate direction, they used to get the traditional surgery, right? And that's very painful. You have to be on the bedridden for like at least a week or so. But now there is another approach called liquid rhinoplasty. It's like around just 1 hour procedure, no pain. And it's just like they are gonna straighten your nose. It's a very quick procedures. no complications, a lot less complicated, a lot of less complications. But it's the technology is going towards a side that which is something I would say very admirable.
I think that's great, and that's great, and I think if artificial intelligence is going to fulfill this purpose, it's great. You know, all sorts of data is being you know, recorded as well. But thank you so much, Dr. Saab, for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Lovely to be in conversation with you, and that there's only one thing that Hajra I've always recognized or realized, and that is that, you know, for all of these doctors who do aesthetic medicine, they say that there's no pain, but there's a lot of pain.
Certainly, you know that, yeah, that's coming from a personal taste. But obviously, thank you so much for putting out this cautionary words out there. Until next time, it's a goodbye, Allah Hafiz, and good morning.
Have a good day.